Hi, my name is Hananya.
Hello there, my name is Shameem.
And my name is Leslie. We're three international friends on a mission to write and publish our first novels. We are the Three Writing Amigas.
I have one more question though before we start. Have you been to the hairdressers today?
No, but what do you think?
It's good. That's why I thought you'd been to the hairdressers, because your curls are more defined.
Yeah, well, okay. This is all about Leslie. Leslie and my vanity,
And your looks.
and my looks. I discovered, when you have curly hair, you guys both have very straight hair, but when you have curly hair, the more your hair curls, the more the follicles are like open, so the moisture goes out. So you can have really, really dry hair. So you have to find things that really moisturize your hair. I found this thing that I put on at the end after you do your conditioner, rinse that out. I put a little gel. There's this, you've heard of it, like argan oil,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's one that you use it in the shower, so your hair's still wet, and you put like a quarter size. Oh, you don't have a quarter, whatever.
I know what a quarter is.
Yeah, I do as well.
Hananya's
What do you take us for? As if we don't know what a quarter is.
It's because she's taking us for Americans.
Well, see, I forget sometimes. No, I don't. Never forget.
We've traveled.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
It's not like we've never been there.
No offense to Americans, I'm just saying.
Oh my
God. Do you
God.
know what a euro is? Do we have to go that route?
Yes, I do.
I mean,
I know. Okay, I'm bad. Anyway,
at least
quarter
I knew
size.
what a pence was.
Well, I did, and I had to ask for a definition, right? Because I was like, "That's English. I don't know what the heck you're talking about."
Yeah, when I said 1p, you were
Right,
like
1p. Yeah, I've only been to England once, and I was like 10.
okay.
So it's been a really long time. And you know who I saw when I was there? My aunt. It was the first time I went to Europe. I was with me, my cousin, and my sister, who's 5 years older. And we met my aunt, was already living in Europe, and she met us there. And we stayed in London for like a week and went to the theater. We saw Mousetrap, which is, like a big deal. We saw Dame Edna.
Oh,
yes. And I remember that. And he just passed recently.
yeah.
And I was like, oh, I have such great memories of that. I didn't understand half the jokes, but because I was only 10, but it was really fun. And I remember that had a warm feeling. But really quickly, back to my hair.
Okay.
Quarter size.
A quarter size, or for that matter, a €1 size, dollop in your hand, and it's just like super moisturizes your hair. Okay. So the more I can moisturize it, the more my natural curls come out, rather than
it looks way better. It looks, I love the defined curl.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. See, you my girls. So I'll do
my
best.
Yes, I love curly hair.
Because you don't.
I feel like that's always.
Hair.
I was gonna say that's always what people do, right? If you have straight hair, you like curly hair. If you have curly hair, you like straight hair.
Any rate, enough of me. No one cares about my hair.
The Leslie show.
The Leslie show. The Leslie makeup, aesthetics show. There you go. So speaking of aesthetics, or speaking of how we present ourselves, let's talk about our author platform. This is, author platforms. I'm still like really, I don't know, confused, or, something. I don't feel necessarily like I'm doing it all right, or I'm putting all my energy in the right places, right? I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I mean, I love that we're doing the podcast. This I would do whether it had to do with author platform or not, because it's fun, and we were hanging out anyway, But I mean, have you guys thought about your author platforms? Because now that we're all in editing, it's definitely the time to think about it.
Well, I've been doing a lot of research on authors platforms because I'm the self-appointed social media manager.
That's right.
Exactly.
And I found a masterclass on authors platform.
Oh, really?
And we are pretty much doing it all already. So, step one, create a website, tick, tick, tick.
Yep.
Publish articles or blogs. And I think we're all doing that. Maintain social media accounts, which is the real painful bit.
Yeah.
And then it says start podcast with fellow writers.
Oh, no way. Did it really?
Yeah. And I was like, cool stuff.
And here we are.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about maintaining, maximizing, and now it's about honing all of that, which is kind of where we're at the moment.
Yeah.
But I did I joined a webinar a couple of weeks ago, and it was with a couple of authors, and it was with the Curtis Brown creative group.
That name's familiar.
Yeah, it's quite famous. It's quite renowned in the publishing world.
Okay.
And there was an author on there who published a couple of books, and her last book got picked up by Reese Witherspoon's book club.
Oh, wow. Well, she's got it made.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, you'd think so, but she said that it's a fantasy just because she's been picked up by Reese Witherspoon's book club. She had not made much money from writing.
Right.
So
You mean until she got picked up from?
no,
Or in
no,
general.
no,
Oh, really? That's
no.
interesting.
Because I was sitting there thinking, wow, that must have like supercharged the journey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, she still had like 2 or 3 side hustles, and
Right.
a lot of them were not like hobbies or doing things from love. It was purposeful to bring in additional money for the house.
Well, I don't suspect that any of us, or I think it rarely on your first book, or maybe even the second, that you're going to be able to quit your day job. Because also it depends on the the topics, right? Like if you're writing a romance, you have a better chance. We know that's super hot on Amazon. You have a much better chance than if you're writing, I don't know, something
fantasies.
else. A fantasy, right? Exactly. So, I get that, but it didn't like give her at least a major bump or anything.
It's giving her voice, giving her a louder voice and credibility within the writing community. But she's, it's terrible. I can't even remember her name, and I haven't read the book, but it hasn't, projected her into the world of, I don't know what you would think. So I found that quite interesting as well. Right. And she talked about social media.
She did.
A lot of the questions from the people attending were generally around social media, because I think in our little world, and it is quite little, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
And I think because of the really wide demographics of writers, there's a lot of writers that just don't like social media.
Right.
And they hate it. And her advice was, if you don't like it, don't do it, because it's going to be obvious that you're not into it. And it's going to come across like that. But I just think our dynamic is so interesting because, I'm not going to say this again, but 3 different generations, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But I think like we all inject something quite different. Hananya keeps us on our toes.
Yep.
With the latest and greatest, with all the snazzy suggestions that make me cringe. But the dynamic, I think, is good. I would not want to be doing this on my own. So hats off to you, Hananya, because you've been doing your Authortuber for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, and that's a lot. I couldn't do it on my own either. I mean, it's fun. Like, well, we were doing this before you came up with the idea to why don't we make this into a podcast? I mean, I agree. I think, look, we're fun to hang out with. I think we love hanging out with each other. And we're learning from each other because we really do bring different perspectives and all that stuff. We learn a lot. And it's also because we're trying to then make it into a podcast, we challenge ourselves to look into different things and to talk about different things and we obviously don't really structure it. We kind of go topic and then, but I think all that's really helpful. I mean, I think I've gotten a lot out of even, discussing not just my story, but you guys discussing your stories and me asking you questions is making me think about, well, did I, so I think it's like,
I feel like it's a lot of reflecting on like your writing and other people's writing that helps a lot. Like, I feel like, we do like, okay, let's talk about this topic, but because we're talking about that topic, or because we're trying to talk about it and tell you like how my story is and what it means, that sometimes you have those realizations and like those moments that you wouldn't have had on your own if you hadn't talked about it. So I feel like it's super beneficial. At least, to us, I guess. I don't know how beneficial it is to people listening. But
let's hope it is, though.
Well, I have learned. I was trying. I think it was yesterday. I was trying to remember, when did we start the podcast? When did we start recording? Not when we first published.
Yeah. Because
I think I've picked up a lot of skills that I'm now leveraging, utilizing in my day-to-day stuff.
Oh, cool.
From primary job stuff, that there's loads and loads of overlaps, but good overlaps, stuff that I can take there, and stuff that, I take from my first life into here as well. So for me, it's definitely a win-win. As much as there's some of it I don't like the recording, or seeing my face all the time, or hearing my voice. I get sick of myself. So,
girl, get over that.
Got used to it. You get used to it. Trust me.
Like I told you, I think some of my friends and family are getting sick of me as well. So
no, they're not. They're jealous.
No, they open their phones and they're like, "You're everywhere. You're everywhere."
Because we're famous.
Yeah, I mean, come on now. We have a show.
I just blame you two.
They're just not. You blame us.
Yeah.
Sure. You're like, I have to. I don't have a choice.
Yeah. I said it's all part of the writer's journey.
That's right.
I'm invested, so I'm committed.
Yeah. They're just not used to it.
It is part of the writer's journey to kind of put yourself out there and try and build the platform, right? Because even if you're building a platform for fellow writers, at some point you want to also target fellow readers, and then
that's right.
Hopefully, at some point sell your books to them. And that's also part of the author platform. And it's not always the funnest part, because I don't necessarily enjoy it when I'm like, "Ooh, buy my stuff." But it is part of it, and it's part of the marketing of you as a person and a brand, but also your books that are going to come out. So I think it's always good to start your author platform at an early stage, even when you're not finished writing a book. Like, that's fine. But just start building those connections, because for me, if I talk about my personal experience, I have been on Instagram for probably 3.5 years as like my author name and like my pen name and everything, interacting with people. And that is how I met some of my like now day-to-day friends. And I talk to them every day. And I have my one critique partner that I like found through Instagram. I've like tons of groups that I found through Instagram, and I just have like a lot of friends now that I've met on Instagram, or that I've met through YouTube, because I obviously have a YouTube channel and I post there all the time. And I have a lot of people that keep coming back and they comment on all of my videos, and it's a little like tiny community. And I've met like a lot of people through YouTube as well, which I think is a good thing, because then you can kind of be in this together with other people, right? That is also kind of a thing. But yeah, it's also kind of good to get yourself out there in a way, even if it's not always the best experience, but you try. And
it's getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in certain areas, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, when we first met, I had not even heard of Authortube.
Neither had I. No.
I was just like, and you're kind of in the industry. I mean, Leslie, in terms of
TV, I mean, in social media,
it's TV.
I just thought there would be some kind of
overlap.
synergy. Yeah.
No.
No.
Not really.
No. But one of the things that Hananya was saying about community, see that, I mean, because writing is such a, I mean, unless some people write in teams, which I've tried, didn't work for me, but mostly it's really solitary, you know, so you can have like all your friends and your significant others and blah, blah, blah. But if they're not writers too, they don't get it completely, you know, and, you know, not their fault. So meeting people, we met, you know, because of the group, which was still because of online. And I've met I have other friends also that I've met, you know, because of Instagram or whatever. Hold on one second. I apologize. Oh my God, this stupid computer.
Why? What happened?
It wants desperately to to update. And so it keeps binging me. So I'm trying to say, you know, I just want to say, so I mean, my community is not as vast as yours, Hananya, because you've been doing it longer in terms of talking about writing online. But even in my short time, which is really mostly kind of when we got together, that I started to get serious about it and started the, you know, like the writer's Instagram and, you know, splitting off my stuff from my personal to, you know, my writing. And I've already met people and that are so nice. And it's so important to feel like you're part of a community, that you have people you can talk to about it, whatever it is, you know, whether it's us talking through our stories, which by the way, I think is for me invaluable. But, you know, but I wanted to say one really quick thing when you were talking about the other platform, it is part of it. It is sometimes uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not the person who goes in and works the room, you know what I mean? But I have a friend from New York, super nice guy, really funny. Shout out to Jeff. He's written a couple of books. And I remember I think it was his second book that he wrote. And, you know, he got a publisher and, you know, smaller publisher, but hey, traditional publishing was all our goal. That's great. His marketing budget was like $800.
Yeah.
That's a reality. You know, I truly believe all three of us are going to be traditionally published, but they're, you know, they're small, medium, and large publishers. We don't know where we're going to fall, who's going to be the right fit for us. And it's your first book, $800, man, if you don't have something set up outside of the publishing, who are you going to?
You're expected as an author to market your own book nowadays. There's not as much marketing budget anymore.
No.
So you're kind of almost have to get an author platform off the ground.
Yeah.
So
I think the good part is that you can do it in different ways. You know, not everybody has to have a podcast. It works for us. But you have Authortube. I can't even say Authortube. I keep wanting to call it Authortube. I do speak English. Authortube.
There you go.
You know, Shameem and I have blogs. You know, you can do it in different ways. Then the social media marketing, though, that's the thing.
A lot of people say focus on one and excel in that. And then don't worry about trying to do all of them, because that's just going to wear you out. And try and focus on one and grow that one.
Do you know what? That makes
I still do everything, but
that makes so much sense.
Well, because also, how do you know what works for you until you kind of at least try everything, right? Like, we've got this, you got the Authortube, we have the blogs, but then now the social media part, we're trying to figure out, well, really, Shameem, who is our, thank goodness, our social media manager, is trying to figure out, like, what is our secret sauce for that? You know, that's still something that we're trying to figure out because we're still new at that.
Well, this week I have applied to join many writing groups on Facebook, because what was interesting when I was filling out the questions was that when I'm explaining that we're three writers, became friends, started a podcast, and the genres of our books as well are so different.
Which is, kind of good. I think it gives, because when you guys give me perspective, you're coming from your points of view, which is really good. It makes me think. So, I mean, so
I think it's good.
I have something just to throw a wrench in our little machine here.
Okay.
You guys know Jane Friedman? Have you heard of her? She is.
I feel like I have, but I don't know if I have. It sounds familiar, but now I'm like, do I know someone else with that last name? And that's why it sounds familiar.
Well, she's all over the internet. Like she does newsletter and, coaching and blah, 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 blah. At least here, like she comes up all the time. And so I'm just really familiar with her name. And, she, I'm sure she's an author too. I don't know. I haven't, but I just see her name all the time. And she's always giving like advice and whatever. And and also when other people suggest websites and things and podcasts to listen to, her name's always in the list. Okay. So she's okay, at least, at least here in the States. So I was looking at, author platform, and I just thought this was interesting. Some of what she said, like platform building is not one size fits all, and we're, still figuring ours out. But here she says, did I not print out the right part? Oh my God.
And she's still printing, Hananya.
I know.
Well, we would have just pulled it up.
See, you guys.
This is
the reason I print. No, let me defend myself.
Hey, well, we'll take a drink.
Okay, you do that. I cannot believe I printed just two pages. Any rate, and I printed the wrong pages because heaven forbid I had a chance to look at them before I did. But she says if you're a fiction author, you don't need an author platform.
Oh.
Just concentrate on writing your best book. I thought that was really interesting because I think there must be a million billion articles, sites, people saying everybody has to have an author's platform. Yeah. And then she says, no, you don't. If you're nonfiction, how to all these other things where you need to be like an expert.
Yeah.
You need it. But she's saying, yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
But then she goes on to tell you things about what activities you could do to build your platform and things like that. And I printed out the wrong thing. I'm sorry, but it's janefriedman.com if anyone wants to go look at it. Okay. But I thought that was really interesting. And at the same time, I kind of feel like, I don't know, I don't think that's right. Because I
agree with that.
I know, I don't either. And I just found that, obviously, you need to, and maybe what she meant, I don't know, is don't let your building of your author platform take over and you're not spending the time writing a damn good book. That I get. Because because you can have all the followers in the world. If you write a crappy book, well, you probably wouldn't get it published anyway. But
well, you
could self-publish it.
You say that though, but some of the stuff when I was doing my research, when I was panicking about, oh my God, we're going to be talking about author platforms, so I could check what it was. I love that.
I love that you're like, oh my God, and I'm just like, I'll just wing it,
and then I just screw it up. So.
Well, this goes back to my
insane trio.
My insane planning. Do you know what I mean? This is when
I love it. You kidding me?
Yeah, but the stuff everything I read, there was always a reference to. There is a percentage of authors that will get an agent and a publisher just because of their social media presence.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
And that's so they've just got works in progress. So I think there's just as much out there that kind of debunk that thinking as it's like chicken and egg though, isn't it?
Well, I think it is a little bit for your first book. I really kind of think it is. It feels that way. Yeah. Although we do ultimately have to have the egg, right? We got to have a book.
Yes.
Everyone says start your author platform before your book is done, right? Which makes sense, which is what we're doing. But this idea that you'd have nothing, and that book would have to be like, I don't know, printed on gold, right?
Yeah.
It seems like in order to me to just walk, find an agent and then, or you do find an agent, because I got to tell you, okay, let's go back to my example with my friend. I didn't know anything about an author's platform back then. And I don't think he had really had one either. And he got a publisher, but then they give him $800, and then what? So you're supposed to drive around, selling the books out of the trunk of your car. Right? So,
well, with gas prices, and
that's true. More than the cost.
Do it on a bike.
You should do it on a bike or by foot.
There's people though that make money from that, isn't it? If you think about some of our posts, especially on Insta, they're like a swarm of flies sometimes, aren't they?
Oh my
they
God.
Promote it. Yeah.
And then they're offering you their services. And I'm just like
no. Yeah.
I've got a gazillion followers, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Because I think if you buy followers or you buy that, then
that's never going to convert. That's not what you want. You want people
who community. It's not a community. We joined. We came together because we were seeking a community.
That's right.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of our primary goals as well is to create, extend our community.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And bring bring everyone else on our journey, and they help us, we help them, so win-win for everybody.
Yeah, for everybody. Exactly. For everybody. And hopefully, they're within our listener base or whatever. There's people who like romance, and there's people who want to deal with women's issues, and there's people who, like YA, and those could potentially become, people who want to read your book, but organically, not this fake stuff, because that looks nice. Oh, I've got 10,000 followers.
Yeah. But if nobody interacts with your content, if nobody actually cares that you're publishing a book, then what's the point?
Yeah. And that's a lot of work too. Still, either you're spending money or, posting every 5 seconds to get people to follow you. And and then it means nothing.
Yeah.
So, that is not our goal. So,
no.
Oh my God.
So I wanted to ask you, and I'm not sure if this is digressing off topic, but just going back to something you said earlier, Leslie. What do your nearest and dearest think of this endeavor, of what we're doing right now? I think that they like it. My sister, and friends, listen, and I think they're enjoying it. I think that it's a couple of interesting things. My new sister, my little sister, right? She's learning about me by listening to these podcasts. And that's sort of an interesting kind of, so shout out to my little sis, Lisa. And so that's kind of cool. And my other and friends and things have, they listen, some people read the blog, but they're not feeling, as far as I know, well, let me put it this way. And most of the people not everybody, of course, but certainly in my tighter circle would tell me to my face if they thought they were sick of me or hated something or whatever. They would, because I like women who speak up. So I'm surrounded by people who will tell me things. And they haven't said that, but they're also more used to me in a way, because Shameem, you've had a life where you were not in front of the camera. Yes. And although I was a producer behind the camera, they've had much more of a life for me. Like when my films are coming out, when a TV show, like they're kind of used to me, being social media. Like I have had stuff in, the trade magazines and, all that stuff. So they're kind of more used to my name popping up and my face popping up, not, having a podcast, although I had another podcast before. So, they're more used to that. So it's kind of like, yes, Leslie's doing that or whatever. So it's different, I think. For you, they're not used to you being that active on social media or in that way. They're used to it in my professional life because that, I find doing it on a professional capability much, much easier than this. And it's because of what we all talk about, because this is more personal. I find this harder than doing the professional stuff. Like this afternoon, I did a LinkedIn panel and over 600 people had registered. There was 480 attendees. And I was talking, it wasn't just me, it was me and 4 other fabulous women. And we were talking about like supercharging customer experience with artificial intelligence. And I was comfortable, but this, not comfortable. But I just want to tell you what my husband said, because he's going to be listening to this, because after I give him a good beating, he now listens to this religiously.
No husbands have been harmed during this episode.
Yeah. So we were talking with a friend, and he was telling our friend about my little hobby of writing. And so I made it like my mission to throw that in his face at every opportunity. I said, I'm just going into my office to partake in my little hobby. So
I love you.
I know. So I just wanted to say that, because I know he's going to be listening, and then hopefully he'll rue the day he ever called. And so part of my motivation for the authors platform is to demonstrate that this is more than a little hobby.
What's your husband's first name?
Andy.
So Andy, hear us now before we roar. That's all I gotta say.
Come back to the podcast in a year and see how fabulous we are.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I already know that Hananya's family are like your biggest fans.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Because I see them all the time. I'm like, hello.
Just my mom, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good, though.
Yeah. I feel like the rest of my family, like the ones that know probably don't watch, and the rest doesn't know. So it's all good.
How can they not know? I mean,
I haven't told them.
Well, how do they miss you? How do they not see you on social?
Because it's a pen name.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So the
cat's out of the bag. Yeah, it's a pen name. So
right.
Yeah. But it's such a big part of your life. I think.
Yeah.
Do you not
makes
want
it very difficult to say that you're busy, but not disclose what it is that you're busy with. But yeah, I have some people that I don't necessarily want to tell. So not everyone knows, but it's fine. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it too.
So yeah, I do have family and friends that watch.
I can't wait. I can't wait till you rock up with your, I watched a video the other day of a book being covered. Like when they have. And I was just sitting there dreaming about.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I had this image of Hananya with the paper in a vice and drilling a bloody hole through it. And I was like,
when I can't wait. I don't know that I will do that, but certainly the first galley will. I don't know. I'm gonna probably frame it in like a museum frame thing. 3D.
Tell me what a galley is. I don't know.
It's printed out, but it's not like hard. Well, first book probably won't be hardcover anymore, but it's printed out from your publisher so that you can do a final, look through.
Proofread.
Yeah, proofread, but it's formatted properly from the publisher and all of that. So that is going to be kept and framed in some way.
Nice.
Definitely. So,
So I guess we should list out in this episode as well, maybe in the description, how we did what we did. The steps, maybe some of the steps we took.
For what?
For building our platform.
I think that's probably a good idea. Oh, also, let's see.
Because we haven't talked about all the heavy lifting that you two do. Yeah. The real.
What do you mean that we two do? You got to get over that. Social media, that's huge. And you volunteered. And you're doing an amazing job, by the way.
I kind of just poached it on her. I was like, you do this. Thanks.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Hananya put her hands up. And
Hananya put her hands up.
Waved the white flag, and I saw it. I came running over the hill. And I said, okay.
Yes, I was like, take either one of these two, but take one.
Yeah, we could totally do that. But, for those who are listening, so we get together, we decide our topics. How we are sort of working is we're obviously recording this podcast, and I have the pleasure of editing the podcast, which off camera, I complained to them about because of my audio issues. But I edit the podcast. Hananya
go ahead. I edit the promos for the podcast. So I essentially go through the whole episode as well on my own and cut some promos where I think it's a funny bit or it's nice information to share. And that's how I cut it, send them over, get feedback, and then continue cutting them, putting subtitles on them, some music underneath sometimes, and then they're good to go. And then we hand it over to Shameem.
But I think it's important.
Well, wait, no, you got to finish what you're saying. Tell them what you do.
This was literally my bridge to you. I was like, and then we hand it over to Shameem.
Yes, and then I come up with witty sentences to showcase the mini stories, because each one is kind of a mini story. I like to think of each one as a funny story, where we're showing our journey, and I am a big fan of emojis. And post them on.
Though.
They do. Yeah. I really like them. You're doing a great job.
YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, and all other platforms that Spotify support, which is quite phenomenal. And it's important that everybody realizes that we don't do this with a budget. We're not investing dollars, euros, pounds into this. So this is about what you can achieve just with time and energy.
That's right. And
divide and conquer.
That's it. Divide and conquer. We work as a team. We, help each other, and we've all taken on our, a big responsibility, and we're just doing it. Yeah. Sisters doing it for themselves.
Yes.
I love that song.
Yeah.
Aretha Franklin and Annie Lennox. Well then, I think that we deserve coffee after all that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
coffee time. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. Be sure to follow Hananya at Hananya Leclerc on Instagram and YouTube. Follow Shameem on Instagram at rnpinkhamauthor. And Leslie on Instagram at ld.feral.writer. Or catch all of us on YouTube at 3 Writing Amigas. Until our next hangout, keep on writing.